Mud is the first sound. Boots go in and don't come out clean. Corporal Ellis Ward puts 2 fingers down by his thigh, a signal seen only by the man behind, and the 4 shapes plus the Frenchman fold with the lane's bank as if into a seam. Pre-dawn has bulk, but no edge. Hedges are walls with pores. Night's rain sits on leaves as beads, on webbing as a dark skin. Tape over dog tags lays a mat thread across throats. Blacked metal is the color of wet earth. Breath ghosts once, then thins. Somewhere ahead, a single engine idles, even and indifferent, sound building a timetable across a blank hour. Ward counts its rhythm the way a man nails his mind to a point under pressure. 4 breaths to 5 engine notes means discipline holds, and they're still unseen, and every tick is 1 step closer to civil twilight at Bulwer 30 that will turn cover into theater. They move in the numbers set at 3:30, a crawl measured by hedgerow thickness and the depth of ruts. 100 meters can be 10 minutes if bramble forgives, 200 if a sunken lane runs true and no hoofprint pools hold them. Private Tommy Sharp carries weight like he was built for load more than speed. Extra water in the side pouches, a ration tin tucked flat against his ribs. When he focuses on one foot after the other, his eyes go contentless, older than 19. The Sten with wrapped magazine rides with the second man, its click padded to a dull animal sound. Lee Enfield bolts have a shine to the touch, oiled dry enough not to squeak when patience runs short. No radio words, the scrambler set in Ward's pack stays dark, insurance that costs nothing unless the line of men dissolves into radio waves, at which point words will be too late. René Martel moves different. His trousers are too clean for the lane at this hour, boots that learned mud after occupation. He doesn't breathe on account, but he knows these hedgerows like parish lanes. He points without moving more than a knuckle's worth, the way a man points when he's used to being watched. His gesture now is a whisper of hand toward a darker cut in the green ahead, a low place where the lane's bank has slumped into a culvert. Water makes habits. Men follow water when the night is thick. 2 fingers to his eyes, then a slice toward the right, his wordless map, track there. Culvert under, German habit on top. Ward eases an eye into a gap. The hedge is black from rain, leaves slick enough to shine even without sun. Through that film of green, he sees cloth that is not leaf, the scalloped edge of a camo net, draped wrong at the base like a blanket thrown by a tired hand. Beneath it, the shoulder of a vehicle shows as straightness where no straight edge belongs. A truck crouches in the dip, a dark mass under netting, wheels sunk in soft verge. He lets his breath slip into the hedge and takes the small punishments of bramble on his cheek to rake the gap lower. A number plate hangs there, half occluded by a leaf that he stills with 2 fingers. Numbers resolve as if being written. He files them, each digit notched behind his eyes. In the bed lie ammunition crates, corners squared, tarps tied with the lazy confidence of men who think morning is theirs. That is the core problem. Carry this clean and unseen before dawn picks a side, or the lane turns their report to noise and the battery never wakes, and he cannot argue with a clock. He's easing back when the lane gains a nearer noise, thin metallic argument, a chain fighting a cog. Ward sees the cyclist before he hears the swear. A German soldier, cap low, machine slung, rolling easy until the chain jumps the rear sprocket with a petulant pop. He pulls to the stony edge by the culvert, flips the bike like a prayer stand, and leans over with hands gone wet and ugly with grease. He spins the pedal to hunt the gear. He is now at the hedge's ear. The patrol becomes a new form of stillness that feels like drowning upright. Dawn remains a schedule they cannot bargain with. Civil twilight will make hedges thin and ruts reflective. If the cyclist leaves now, the minute stays a minute. If he lingers, the lane becomes a place where even a held breath has texture, and the stakes become immediate. Be seen, and the number in Ward's head dies with them. or be wind and the artillery gets fed. Ward lays a palm on the hedge's inside to feel small tremors translate. He counts again, not just breaths now, but the clicks of a pawl inside that bike fuss. His finger bones are a metronome he doesn't look at. Martel's shoulder brushes leaf and stays. He knows the farmer who uses the culvert and the rhythm of carts in this weather. His hand creeps toward Ward's sleeve, the guide's tap that isn't one, and stops, fingers coming up with a single thorn drawn between glove and skin, held in a delicate pinch so the branch doesn't shiver. From the next field, a farm dog gives 2 barks, duty, not rage, then goes quiet. The silence after is a head turned toward the lane. Every leaf seems to have hearing. A wet hedgerow can be a choir or a microphone, and right now it is both. Sharp's weight shifts and doesn't. Muscles make micro-decisions under webbing. He holds half the patrol's water, a little of their future. The extra weight makes his breath find new places in his chest. A bead runs off his canteen cap and falls onto his trousers soundless, but the cap's knurling under his finger threatens a squeak if he gives into the habit of checking it. In his blouse is a shiny ration tin, kept for luck, he tells himself, because it seals well against wet. His thumb rub has polished its lid edge to a crescent. He has not touched it in an hour. He thinks about it now the way a child thinks about a tooth with a loose root. He does not move. Ward maps the other side of the lane the way a man maps a room in the dark. 2-man pairs are the German way here. They bracket lanes like bookends, sticks in hands to jab roots, eyes up for unnatural straight edges, ears tuned to intent. Unteroffizier Karl Brecht exists as shape in the plan, whether present now or about to be. Sound is their first radar. A wet hedgerow carries a single clink farther than anyone likes, and these men grew up on lanes that taught them which noises are their own. Ward doesn't conjure him to feed fear, but to map margins. The cyclist swears again and looks over his shoulder, not at the hedge in particular, but at the world, the way a man checks he can be seen to be working, so blame slides off if an NCO appears. The chain sits stubbornly on the wrong tooth. He reaches for a cloth, finds none, prints dark on dark along his trousers. He flicks the chain. It chatters like a low insect, a vibration that gives their minutiae a new pulse. Ward can feel men behind him translating impatience into stillness. In training, you practice pauses with a watch. Here you practice with someone else's hands. Above, the sky's weight thins. Low cloud makes a ceiling you can touch with an outstretched thought. A spit of wind runs along the hedge, leaves rocking like a cat's back from spine to tip. Beads shift and drip at odd tempos, forgiving small sins if the sins are small. Ward waits for drops to cover a boot's settling. Mud receives him without complaint. Lane ruts hold water in long mirrors that reflect nothing now, but will catch a pale sky soon and betray silhouettes to anyone who reads such things. Every extra minute here is a bet against that. Martel's eyes track the farm track beyond the culvert. 2 fingers slight to the left. A secondary path. There is a gap in the hedge. Locals always know, but gaps are mouths with teeth now. They funnel steps and sound and the urge to hurry. Germans watch gaps because farmers do. Ward files it under options, not now, and lets his fingers make the smallest no. Gifts in Bocage are invitations to be seen. Wet has crept into bolts and caps the way cold finds bone. Condensation beads along every edge that matters. Lift a bolt in fright and it won't fight, but it might whisper. Tape on tags has softened and clings a bit to the skin it protects. The Sten's padded magazine well is a blunt, ugly thing. It won't betray them with a click if a hand tightens. Ward checks with mind, not fingers. He has learned to let silence be an absence they hold like breath, not a switch he can throw, even if his flaw is believing in switches. He watches the German at the culvert as if watching persuades minutes. 1 minute becomes 3 because a chain has ideas. In those 3 minutes, the lane's composition changes. The distant engine's hum is joined by a cough of a lorry a field away, then a farm door's hinge, then the dog again. The dog goes quiet in the middle of its second bark, like a hand closed on a sound. Silence becomes a tool, not theirs alone. Ward feels it lean against them, heavy as a log. It belongs to men across the lane who would use it as a blade. He takes in the netted truck's weight, lazy tie, numbers memorized, and sees the shape of what the right minute does. A battery turned in its cradle and pointed at this lane by mid-morning. A culvert with a resupply truck is not incidental. It is the throat to something bigger. Leave unseen with information intact, and the morning stays theirs. Get held here by chain and weather and a single dog, and their story writes over maps in blood. He knows this against damp cheek and the weight of the watch he will not look at. The minute belongs to a German private and a strip of metal. Luck fixes the chain with a polite clink. The cyclist smiles, private, at a problem solved without skill. He spins the wheel, watching for wobble, satisfied. He stands the bike and does not leave. He drinks from his canteen like a man between moments. Droplets hit his collar and roll down. He glances toward the culvert and the netted shadow, then back down the lane the way you do when you feel watched, though the watching isn't for you. He lingers in a small way that stretches everyone's patience until it creaks. Overhead, sound arrives from higher than hedges and timber lines, a low thunder that lifts neck hair, then smooths it. RAF TAC air sweeps the cloud, not low, but too close to ignore. 3 seconds of roof, a taste of petrol and oil replaces hedgerow wet. It's a blessing you can move under, a curse the instant it fades. Ward's fingers twitch at using the tail of it to slide a boot. He stills them. The pass is gone before the cyclist caps his canteen. After, the lane is quieter, not because sound fell off, but because everyone's ears widened. This absence weighs. The German looks up toward the near field, remembering the dog. He tightens his strap the smallest amount. He is a man on a bicycle with a job, not a sentry, but the lanes teach everyone to listen. He lifts the machine, sets a foot, then pauses in that indecision between effort and laziness. He drops the bike again, crouches at the chain as if in superstition. Ward watches his hesitation become their delay. They remain water in the ditch, present but not visible, subject to other men's timing. The culvert is closer than it feels. Water under it hisses a low, sibilant note they can hide in if they don't disturb a single dry bramble inside their pocket. Dry bramble is a trap, still, even after rain. It holds what falls and keeps it. A flint sits on the lip where a boot dragged it up. Ward clocked it on entry, told himself mud would swallow small sound. He feels the itch of every neat plan that assumes silence can be forced into line. He raises 2 fingers, hold even the urge to swallow, because the farm dog is somewhere ahead, and luck is tucked where luck shouldn't be. Sharps, pins, and needles map his legs like tiny fires. A stubby circle works free from under his blouse. The ration tin he keeps for luck, shiny where thumb and forefinger have polished. He made himself a story. It seals tight. It can be quiet. He told no one it was a charm. The tin finds a bramble cradle, like a place it was meant to be. Lid proud by a millimeter, a sliver of clean edge catching what little light exists. It nestles in the hedge's rib cage, motionless and harmless, until it isn't. Ward sees the sliver with the edge of his eye, an animal twitch in a place that should behave like wood. He glides a darkened glove over twigs, lays 2 fingers across the lid's bead. He aims to ease it down, to make it part of earth like he did with frogs, soot-blackened and taped. The bramble resists in a living way, springy and deceptive. Force will creak. He breathes out slow, measures a pressure angle that produces no sound, and knows the folly of thinking the world obeys instruments. The night shrugs. RAF again, a groan through cloud that runs fingers down hedges. For 3 counts, their smallness hides under it. It passes. The blanket is pulled back inch by inch. In that vacuum, with the last note sliding away, small sounds stand up. When it happens, it is a tick more than a clink, the tin's lid edge kissing flint. Not loud, not long, clean. Wet morning carries such notes farther than men imagine. A bright, pure thing threads the hedge like a struck match in a nave. Sharp's pupils blow wide. They all become the note, and the silence after it. Across the lane, a German voice cuts air with clipped impatience, there then gone, a bark that is a shape in wet. Halt. Then something softer to someone out of sight. Metal kisses metal once, a Leash's small hardware sound, then checks. Silence sharpens until its edges have edges. The farm dog in the next field gives one bark, a duty fulfilled, then stops as if a syllable ended it. Silence turns into a face pointed at them. Ward lengthens the space between counted breaths and makes 6 look like 5. Germans sweep hedges in twos with a dog. They probe roots with sticks. You can sit in an eddy and let debris move around you. The eddy they chose is about to become a whirlpool. He reaches, very, very slowly, to take more tin weight without snapping bramble. He feels Sharp's forearm tremble where sleeves kiss. Drill makes bodies act without thought. Fear makes thumbs seek talismans. Both truths arrive together. Martel, whose breath has been his own loudest sound, shows the smallest motion there is. Chin tipped at the gap he knows, the cow-thieved shortcut with a hollow where hooves cut a passage. He led smugglers and cousins through it as a boy. In war, gaps funnel eyes and sound. He mouths the gap more than a word. The offer is a way out and a new noise. The price is the trumpet effect. The clock says he's right. The lane says he's wrong. Gravel rolls under careful boots. German soles scrape with metronome discipline. Not rushing, measuring. A stick knocks bark, thuds earth, scrapes root. Not random. Pattern mirrored both sides, one pair nearer than the other, movements like combing hair. Nets of sound find what tries to slip. The leash sighs once, taut shape in air. The dog's nose drinks the earth. Ward hears one pair cross at the lane bend and holds a second decision in tooth and tongue. Condensation beads along bolts like little mercury eyes. Pressure changes can make metal whisper. Ward's thumb rests on a bolt handle to test for glue made by cold, not to move it. Tape wraps tags like shabby chaplainry. Silence is coaxed, not granted, and water cheats, using every seam. The scrambler set in his pack is off and heavy, a quiet that could betray even muted. He leaves it dead. A ghost can be seen. The cyclist fusses 1 minute too long. He wipes hands on trousers, a vanity that adds weight to the minute. He mutters to someone not on stage. The dog's breath finds them, huff like an echo. The culvert mouth breaths cold water and canvas rot. Tarps on the truck might be shedding dew in heavy drops, countable, predictable. The longer they're pinned, the drier dawn becomes, and the louder small world makes them. Sharp's fingers, the ones that want to move to prove life, curl into strap. He's 19. He learned the trick of stillness until the itch under the scalp screams. Under it sits the habit, touch the tin when a dog is near. He feels the lid edge now at his sleeve, where Ward's glove also holds, a double weight that could numb his arm to the elbow. He stares through leaves and sees lane, a pale, wet plank, flint sparkles embedded in ruts. He imagines the sound a bullet makes before feeling it. He clamps the thought. Martel takes back his gap, feeling misreading in Ward's eyes. He grew with gaps, with family voices traveling through hedges like hand-carried mail. Now axioms betray. Every gap pulls eyes. Every tunnel carries a step like a drum. He gets it back without words. A wet thorn bites his knuckle. Blood wells fast as dew. He plugs the cut with his thumb and forefinger pinched together, then presses the wounded hand into his armpit to slow scent. Village trick made military, and time buys itself a second. The dog's nose finds what leaf and water cannot hide. The tin's clean edge has no sap gloss, only grease and soldier and tinned meat from another place. It whines once, not complaint, but question. The handler hushes it, slicing air with a consonant. Leash hardware quivers, then stills. Ward's fear blooms under the ribs like paraffin because men can ignore notes. A dog's math is better. He presses into bramble, feels it protest through the glove. The friction's almost inaudible creak sounds too big. A robin drops into the hedge behind them and shakes rain from feathers. The shiver runs thorn to thorn, a moving cover that disguises Ward's last micro-adjustment. Mud smears across the tin's proud lip under his palm. He wants to grind it into earth and be done, but force is a blunt tool. The robin hops again and is gone. A stick on their side skips one root and hits the next, pattern broken in a way that could be response. Brecht is listening hard enough to hear his own heartbeat if he wanted to. Cloud thins above, a pale slice opening. Not sunrise, suggestion of one. Wet leaves turn prisms. A shaft of light will betray a straight edge the way rain carries a chime. Ward drops his head even lower, as if that could lower the hedge. A boot scuffs on the far side. A voice, younger, amused, says something about a cyclist and a chain. Laughter without laughter. The dog's tongue lolls, then disappears behind teeth on command. Pause deepens. You could thread a needle if your fingers belong to you. The first willow rally marker is 50 meters behind, the next at 100. Ward imagines pulling men out under fire. He files it as plan, not prophecy. A drip hits the tin's lid with malice, pinging a pitch eerily like the first kiss. Ward's jaw creeps. Condensation and gravity have no loyalties. The far side holds its breath. A stick on their side hits mud where his elbow would be if it were less cautious. He can visualize the slim tip, blunt from tapping roots, searching for hollows where men go to ground. It is 3 hedges away from being a boot. He has the decoy he rehearsed 100 times, a stone thrown to give sound a false address, a trick for boys and soldiers. To work, it needs timing like breath. He tests the throw against the lane's geometry. Sound will bounce off the culvert mouth and seem larger. It might by an inch. Tricks need ground that doesn't shift. He waits one gust of breath for a stick to be mid-probe. Martel wants the cyclist gone. Let departures cover wash over their small sin. Language isn't an option. Sharp's eyes make a declaration. I did this, do that, not yet. He swallows a sound everyone would hear if he fails. The sweep compresses. The far pair begins to cross by climbing the hedge face, boots finding root steps. The dog wants the smell of the tin, refuses the lane. It pulls. Rolf, the handler says, wolf made pet by a single vowel. Silver rings a tremble, then lies still. The line in air is an arrow. Water trickles near knees. It moves with a sound too low to hide men. Ward adjusts. If sticks find near, he will clamp sharp hard at the shoulder to trigger the freeze that helped somewhere in a dentist's chair. Domestic pain becomes training in a hedge where a dog's whiskers brush leaves 3 hand-widths away. Anger helps focus. He stokes a sliver. The cyclist finally pushes off. Chain under tension recedes. Its fading yanks cover away and lengthens hearing until sheep 2 hedges over become part of the map. A taped sling on the sten shifts and clicks once, muffled but alive. The best laid plan loses by inches until it loses by nothing. Stay and be found. Move and be heard. The dog's nose solves what men feel. Sun generosity comes at the worst time. A zipper of cloud teeth opens and a thin blade of white slips down the hedge. It coins the tin's rim into a precise geometry. Ward flattens muddy palm down, denies light a shape, and the bramble creaks a German within 3 meters is made to hear. A whisper barks 3 steps away. A stick lowers and angles toward knotroot, not fox. The dog shoves its nose under the hedge as if pushing a door. Ward's heart wants to be on open ground. He stares past the muzzle and finds the only space that could save them, the angle of lane and culvert where a stone could be sound, not confession. He needs noise in a new place now. 2 fingers find a pebble by the ditch edge, smooth, wet, the size of a thumb joint. He measures the arc in his wrist, preloads a throw that isn't a throw to a dog and is a shadow to a man, then waits 1 breath to hit the ear when it listens hardest. He moves. The stone travels as if it had a number in mind. For an instant it is intent without consequence. Then it becomes whirled. Leaves deflect hope. It lands in the opposite pocket's bramble and startles a sparrow into a burst that magnifies the fiction. A stick skitters toward the false. "Da?" someone asks. "There? Really?" The dog pulls 2 ways. Leash line hums. Human skepticism rescues them for a beat. The eye is jealous. Light shifts a finger's width and visits the tin again before Ward's smear can turn it to dirt. The rim flares not bright, but exact, a geometry recognized before meaning assigned. A coin in a hedge. That beat dissolves the decoy, outruns training, outvotes a dog. Picture seen, picture remembered. The lane's logic changes. Sticks begin prodding the hedge roots, closing like fingers. The dog's breath arrives first, warm and wet, then pause, nails scritching on roots. Boots on the lane settle. A hand signal flattens air. Condensation glints along bolt handles. Nobody wipes. A thorn-sharp brush trembles. Martel pins it with thumb and forefinger and takes the thorn's point in his glove without a flinch. Leash jangles once, then taut again. A line from the dog's chest to their breath is drawn. Ward's plan was simple. Slide back along the ditch to the first willow marker at 50, then peel right along a cattle run. 3 rally points counted in his head on a drummer's beat. That line is blocked by a pair posted at the lane bend, 1 crouched with stick, 1 upright, eyeing the hedge top where birds should move and don't. Dawn is a smear, but bones form in silhouettes. The culvert's arch eats the far verge. Beyond it, netted mass waits like a breath he must carry. Angles, move and ripple the leash, wait, and meets the stick. His left fingers close on a smooth stone he might never throw. Martel's jaw points left. The gap, Farmer's Tunnel. Ward had vetoed it. Now it's the only throat out that doesn't scream panic. The cost is its trumpet. They lock eyes on the cost, then on the clock. On the lane, the cyclist fingers a cuff, silly in this moment, his smear of grease now a mark. He stands in an hour he should not shape. That extra half-minute becomes an anvil. The RAF cover has moved inland. Wet air magnifies all. Sharp's chest labors under crossing straps. The tin in the bramble carries their future backward. Superstition is loud now, a boy's act made adult liability. He pulls breath through his nose so lungs don't speak. His free hand opens and closes on slick leaves. Ward senses the tremor through dirt they both own. Breck's pair on this side crouch and advance 1 hedge interval, textbook spacing, mirrored across the lane. Brecht hangs back, head tilted, letting ear map. He trusts stick and nose, learned in places where brush hid men who wanted to be stone. The dog worries grass at root line, dismisses, pulls them a meter on. They're 30 seconds away at this pace. Culvert breathes cold, grease, wet sack, damp iron. Ward files details like a banker, plate letters, chalk X on canvas door, shadow of boxes through mesh, ammo, not potatoes. Put in a notebook later, and a gun line can cut a throat. He feels the equation, Save the paper with goods or the flesh beside him. Grease and rain make Enfield bolts slick, but skin on metal can squeak. The Sten's magazine well is wrapped thick to stop the faint feed lip click. Tape is religion here, tags, frogs, buckles. The tin never got its penance because it was private. Blame tries to squat in the back of Ward's head. He kicks it out. He counts. Their ditch is a narrow coffin that breathes. Mud leeches chill. Thigh bones hum with ache. Within, everything is amplified. Fabric on bark, enamel chip flaking from tin, a leaf deciding to drop with a kiss. Silence after the far dog bark is a conductor's hand. Hold. Silence turns into a spotlight, and in such light, even a blink sounds like a tap. They can't go back. Willow behind is now a flag. The gap is a funnel. The stone weighs nothing and everything. He rolls his wrist in imagination, sees it bounce off root into nettle. Might buy seconds, might draw muzzles to their exact pocket. Hard choice. Tin sits there like a coin in a thorn purse. Breck's stick taps something hollow, thin, not grown here. He lifts 2 fingers, men stop. The dog tastes the new paws. Scent floats, graphite, oil, sweat not farm. Brecht leans. Stick tip re-enters slow, makes accidental. He remembers a partisan under a willow who flinched at the second tap, not the first. He saves surprise. Sharp's lips move. Apology or prayer, just shape. Martel reaches for the tin, gets bit by thorn, blood on glove, clamps the finger into cuff, then armpit. It buys them scentless seconds. They are 4 soldiers and a guide, a number chosen to be smaller than a pattern. Drill made them shadow. But habit lives inside kit like mice inside walls. Sharp's talisman, Martel's gap, Ward's belief practice saturates private ticks. Discipline is a switch in a classroom, a muscle here, muscles fatigue. The German ahead prods and touches Sharp's trouser cuff. A graze. The young soldier decides route. His brain needs route, not man. He smiles at his caution, stops when Brecht's eye cuts him. The leash tightens. The dog sets down one slow paw into their weather. Ward inhales a decision like water. The stone turns heavy with wrongness and rightness. He cannot beat the nose. He can beat the eye that wants pictures. He angles his throw back left toward ash leaves that will move. He waits for a thinned cloud beat. He lets the stone go like a thought he can't own. It ticks twice, shakes what he wants. Brecht's head snaps. His chop sends 2 men to the false. The dog jerks to body language. It works partly. The young one grins, grateful for normal. Sharp relaxes half a breath. Martel's grip on a thorn tightens. Tremor travels and clicks metal again with the same bright note. The note threads the lane like a needle. Wrong timber in wood and wet dirt. Brecht's mouth firms. Recognition, not surprise. He doesn't shout. He points low. The dog dives as a drawn line. The grin flattens. Air changes like a window shut in storm. Pressure rises. Sharp's hand goes for the tin's rim to rewind a clock. Fingers meet cold, slick curve. Cloud thins. A thin blade of white falls through leaves and walks the hedge like a swung lamp, finds the clean rub where paint is gone. For a heartbeat, the tin is a coin. Coins catch eyes. Ward's gut drops before eyes track. Light pins confession. His hand moves on its own, smearing mud hard. Time's runway is too short. Picture taken. Across the lane, a pupil dilates with a solved joke. Sticks become rifles. Ward thinks the last choice that isn't coin toss. Stay and burn the page in his pocket, or break through the gap and get letters to a wireless. He tilts chin to the gap. When it starts, go through the mouth with teeth. He signs under that with his life. He doesn't get to reread it. The dog's paw scrabbles root. Brecht's breath comes slow. A fly lands on Ward's cheek and sits like a stupid anchor. Ward grinds more mud over shine, leaves 4 grooves. He squeezes the stained man's sleeve. When the first word shows its teeth, rake hedge, not lane, short bursts. The squeeze travels. The other man nods without moving. Rust flakes flutter at culvert seams like brown moths. The farm dog in the distance chooses silence again. It grants no cover. The air is about to move faster than thought. Ward sees the tin catch a sunbreak, a coin of light announcing their exact breath. He flattens his hand over Sharp's forearm before instinct can jerk them, pressure that says, "Be Earth." The dog lifts, nostrils raking. Brecht's halt arrives with tap-tap mapping their outline. The lane, once gutter, becomes a rifle barrel pointed both ways with them as the bullet stuck inside. If the dog commits, sticks find ankles. If they bolt, the lane gives German geometry. Martel's gap becomes their only wrong thing, left that feels right. "It's now," Martel breathes. Close enough his lips brush the rim of Ward's ear. He points his chin at the tunnel he's argued for since dawn had weight. Ward's reply is the smallest nod where movement dies. He throws first, 2 shots down lane into the darkest shape. He was taught to shoot where the eye refuses to focus. The Lee Enfield's bolt slides on decent oil. The first round splinters a stick tip. The second drops the handler into the rut with a bag of grain thud that turns the dog's yelp sideways. The leash snakes under its legs. The triangle splits. The second German flattens and answers with taps. The Sten, with Bennett 2 bodies down, comes up and coughs controlled. Tape on the mag well kills feed lip ticks. 1 burst punishes the lane's mouth. Brecht rolls to verge and answers, 3 quick stitches above Bennett's breath. 1 finds meat. Bennett's boot kicks and scuffs, then is still. The cost ledger opens in blood. "Go," Ward says, barely air. He shoves Sharp, then Martel. He turns to drag Bennett by the collar because his body refuses the arithmetic that writes men as weight. Bennett locks eyes and shakes his head with a sideways smile, gray with mud. "Report," he mouths. It is both permission and order, and the practice you don't get in peace. Sticks prod nearer. A boot heel's nails gleam within a yard. Ward hates himself in a suspended second, lets go, commits all that hates grams to forward motion, and tells himself he will hold this weight later. They cram through the gap that kisses and cuts. Martel goes first, shoulders turned sideways. He was born to fit where men don't fit. Sharp follows. His pack scrapes, a canteen cap squeaks, a small betrayal in a day made of small betrayals. That squeal hammers intense nail deeper. Ward fires 1 more round back to tax pursuers' ears and keep muzzles honest. Return fire chews hedge, splinters lays the air like bees. He keeps low, shoulders scraping chalk. Roots rake his tunic. Pain is a map to where you still are. They fall into the ditch beyond, a carved line that smells of living earth, water, and old leaves. The first willow marker they planted lies where it should, bent to face upstream, a promise underlined with thumbs last night that now looks like a test. Sharp slips and drops shoulder deep in water, cold as a threat. He clamps his mouth on a curse. Martel knee-wades and points left, away from culvert geometry where enemy mines will aim. Ward keeps count, 4 in -1. He presses the tally down and taps Sharp twice. Follow, don't lead, no straight lines. Behind, the lane reorganizes under Brecht's hands. He's professional, he won't chase hedges blind. He sets pairs in parallel with the ditch, prodding where roots open. He listens for unnatural rhythm, the panic syncopation. The farm dog is quiet by choice. Weather gifts and punishes. A sunbreak slides across the ditch like an eye. Their silhouettes exist for a breath. Ward sees the second willow switch past a slump, a meter, because he bent it himself under cloud. It points toward a culvert under the lane at a skew. Martel shakes his head violently. Culverts are pipes for bullets and dogs. The plan says near, not through. Doctrine and fact make a compromise and a shape. The water deepens by the culvert bowl. Sharp stumbles. The ration tin, now bruise-brown under mud, with finger grooves still shiny, bumps Flint under water with a small, stupid tick. Brecht is close enough to hear softness. He lifts his palm, and his pair halts. The dog off leash smells culvert funk and hesitates. Sensible creatures don't rush holes with unknown owners. Brecht knows culverts. Grenade, mark far end, make choice 0. He reaches for his belt. Ward sees the gesture as a smear through leaf and water. Inside his chest, 2 pictures jostle. Plate letters on a netted ammo truck and a page in a book that lists orders for compromised recon. Training wins when it keeps men breathing and guns firing later. Sharp, Ward whispers. 3 letters swallowed. Tin. He doesn't mean luck. He means weight that can move someone else's attention. Sharp looks down at the thing he thought protected him, and that almost got them killed twice. He takes it, the mud dull where it must be, 4 finger gutters glossy. Ward points across the ditch into stubble where rain hasn't reached. Throw, far, underhand, underheard. Sharp nods and sets body. He lobs the tin. It arcs, unseen, lands in dry. It rolls and ticks on Flint with the sound that began this. A twin note in new weather. Ears flinch toward origin. Brecht makes the right calculation for Ward. The same click twice in one morning, in 2 places, is not accident now. He throws a grenade at sound and sends a pair wide. The dog surges toward the echo. Habit is not just a human failure. The grenade cuffs the stubble open and shoves a string of birds into sky. Men blink. Brains crave endpoints. In the beat brightness steals attention. Ward becomes motion. He doesn't stand. He becomes belly, shoving water and leaf ahead. Martel angles them into the culvert's shoulder where a root mass makes a blind. Sharp, stripped of talisman and with it one small lie about control, moves lighter. They hit the 3rd willow switch inside a silence that has had a chunk ripped out of it. Past the switch, the ditch opens into a fan. Drain cut to a farmyard, track to their lines if they cross a field without being men. The field is a book with pages torn out, spine bare. Cover is a rut and hope. Ward feels his notebook sodden against his chest. Ink bleeds but doesn't flee. Numbers still read, as numbers if warmed. He thinks of going back alone for a better angle. A bullet sketches a neat hole through that thought and leaves the page to be dried by body heat later. Brecht has learned enough ditch speak to be yards behind. He moves like a man who practiced moving like other creatures. He knows they will break open because they must. He prefers geometry. He splits his pairs, left to field edge, right to shadow ditch. He takes the dog collar himself. He lets its body tell him when men rise above compost. Ward squeezes Sharp's shoulder, not to keep him from running, but from the hesitation that gets you killed. 3 steps, then down, Ward says, breaking fear into blocks. Martel whispers about a tractor rut, lower than a man's hip. An RAF single-engine braid returns late. It rams the lane's acoustics into a useful shape and steals it. Move under, freeze after. Ward times the pop to the lowest pass. They heave out into a field that looks wider than the channel when you're on your belly. The field receives them with cruel honesty. Furrows give what they have. Cheeks still shine where clean. Sharp flattens into a rut with the speed of a boy who's played at soldiers and is now playing for future. Martel slides into dock weed. Ward lies between them as the RAF falters and the quiet rushes back. A bird tries a note. It invites men to believe normal has returned. Brecht hears it and doesn't give in. They crawl as if the earth were fur they didn't want to ruffle. German silhouettes appear at the far spell and then slink down. A stick is memory now where prodding has worked. A shot punches dirt before Sharp and fans wet black on his chin. He doesn't flinch beyond swallowing. Ward fires once left of where he wants the eye. A lure shot. On the subconscious correction, they move 2 body lengths, then 2 more. He reads the field in inches and edits every breath. Martel steps on flint. It peeps. He adjusts, smears mud over the tin edge that's migrated from Sharp's blouse again during this crawl's violence. The tin refuses to be lost. Now it is voiceless under slurry. Ward's palm falls into a reflex, grinding it farther to kill language. Sharp's blink holds gratitude and shame. The ledger in Ward's head holds Bennett on one side, tin on the other. Sums don't come clean. They hit the far ditch under stolen quiet. Ward makes one last decision that tastes like metal. Cut toward their own lines early with a rough grid, or push 50 more meters for triangulation a gunner will bless. Artillery works in decimals. Doctrine says don't trade lives for decimals. He shows Martel the plan and the cost with eyes. Martel nods like a man who's eaten burnt bits because the pan was cleaned anyway. They go. They slide the extra 50 and see what they needed. The culvert's counterside, the net's weave count, the second plate. The first look didn't offer because a bicycle chain made the world small. Ward presses the notebook under his blouse to his chest, warmth staining paper, fixing ink, keeping numbers alive in case the page dies. A round takes hedge above Sharp's shoulder and forks splinters into his neck. He swallows pain because the dog doesn't care for it, but the man holding the dog does. They break the field's last run ugly because fields demand ugliness. The dog bursts out with faith and anger, not entirely its own. Brecht runs behind with steady breath. Ward turns and chooses the page with faces. He drops to a knee and puts 2 shots into soil in front of the dog, lifting wet earth to make it doubt the ground. It barks, breaks line, loses scent in spray. Brecht spends a vowel under his breath. Doubt given to a dog is time bought for men. They tumble into the last drainage by falling on purpose. Ward counts with his hand on wet hair. 1, 2, 3. Fingers hang for a 4th that does not fill. He keeps his hand up a heartbeat, then lowers it like a flag, because Bennett is subtraction now. In his pocket, the wet notebook feels alive. Martel's hand on his sleeve is a tether. Sharp's breath against his cheek is a promise to put away the charm he can't forgive or keep. Artillery drums are disciplined. You either feed them or they feed on you retail. He chooses feeding. Behind them, the lane resumes routine, under men walking more carefully than at dawn. Brecht rubs the dog's ears. He asked it to be more than a nose. He steps to the gap that chewed Ward's jacket. Chalk scrapings and 4 finger grooves in mud around a small, smeared metal bruise tell a complete story. He kneels and touches the tin smear with a fingertip. He rubs it into the earth like an eraser. He drafts his own report. Ghosts, a decision made in mud, a dog made to doubt, a chain that shaped an hour. Ward, somewhere safer but not safe, eases the notebook out and peels pages apart with the delicacy of a man handling the last egg. Ink has bled, but the grammar is there. Numbers read as numbers. Willow relative to fence post draws a shape a battery can set on. He breathes on the page to keep it workable and slides it back under a blouse made heavy by paper and water and choice. He looks at Sharp's chest where the bulge was. Now it's flat, and he sees nothing but cloth and what almost wrote an epitaph. He presses his palm there and moves on. They don't move until birds own the field for real, because moving under that amnesty is the only motion the universe agrees with. Martel taps Ward's wrist and points one last time. Willow, ditch, then a plank footbridge. No one uses, but men not from here. Ward nods. The mission is a tight coin he keeps behind his teeth. He crawls. He stands. He drops to a crouch at nothing because habit doesn't die neatly. He goes on. The hedgerow closes behind them into a world that is not new but will treat them as if they are. Mud-caked fingers take one last swipe across what might shine and extinguish a final glint as birdsong folds back over a dented, voiceless tin.